Facebook quotes. And I just like started thumbing through it. I mean, one of my very favorite quotes, and I don't know who it was from, but it was, if you can't change the people around you, change the people around you. If you can't it's kind of a tongue twister, but if you can't change the people around you, change the people around you, right? And if you're confused by that, we can try to change the people around us, or we can change the people around us, the people that we're hanging around with, right? So anyway, I thought that was but again, I have it open right now. I figure if I fall short here and need some ideas, I will just turn and look at these photos and start, reading some of them to you, because they're phenomenal. But you can't have a positive result with a negative attitude, right? I mean, we hear these quotes, you can't have a positive result with a negative attitude. This means so much. So what do? Number one, you have to believe in that. You have to buy into that theory or that concept of how incredibly powerful positivity is. Your own mindset, the people you hang around with, the things that you're exposed to, all of that is feeding you information. The question is it good information or is it bad information? Is it something that's uplifting or is it dragging you down? Is it something that makes you feel good or is it something that's making you feel bad? Right. And if you can, again, we talk about, mindset and the power of the conscious mind feeding the subconscious mind, and the subconscious mind, doesn't know good from bad, positive from negative, right from wrong. It only knows our conscious mind. The problem with most people is they are talking to, getting advice from, thinking about, being exposed to a lot of the wrong stuff, a lot of negative stuff, then it's dragging them down. And if you can be conscious and if there was a lesson, coming out of this fireside chat, just think a little bit about, try to be conscious of the things that you're exposed to, the things that you're reading, the things that you're listening to, the people that you're hanging around. And I know sometimes some of those people may be family members. Gosh, it may even be a spouse, right? And so what do you do there, right? And so, you have to offset it. If there's a negative influence that you can't, like say it's a spouse or something, then you need to overpower, that input with positive stuff. I mean, whether it's listening to the Jim Rowans of the world or watching, some YouTube videos, some positive YouTube, I'm hoping that all of you even, come off of one of these fireside chats and you feel empowered, you feel better, right? I mean, if you're coming off of here not feeling better, then I'm missing it completely, right? So hopefully you're coming off of here feeling inspired. But there's so many things. I mean, I was over in Paris, Barcelona and then Paris, and ended up getting COVID over there. And hey, it was a struggle to keep my mindset, of not, falling into that pity mode, right? Because that's not healthy for anybody, right? Is feeling that way. I was, kind of turned, just thank God I'm not deathly ill, right? I mean, I had COVID, had cold-like symptoms, and I'm, just, so grateful that I wasn't deathly ill. I'm like, gosh, how bad would that be if I was deathly ill and ended up in a hospital in another country or something like that? So, I looked at it from the positive standpoint of getting through. I probably could have done better, but everything in life and the people that we hang around with, because it's not just the people that we hang around with, it's the people that are hanging around with us. What influence are we having on them? Are we a positive influence or a negative influence? Are we, through our own attitude, because we all, we can have a run of bad things happen to us, right? And it can affect your attitude. It can affect your, gosh, everything just seems, let this get to you. And then what it's doing is it's not just getting to you, it's getting to the people around you, right? Because misery loves company. Misery loves company. So anyway, guys, let's take and expand, our conversation here about the power of positivity, the impact that your attitude has on yourself, on the others, the things that we're exposed to, the things that we're listening to, the things that we're watching. It all matters. It all matters. But coming back to this quote, and I'm going to open it up for participation here, is you can't have a positive result, a positive outcome with a negative mindset, right? I mean, your mindset and your attitude and all these things are absolutely crucial. So anyway, let's go ahead and open up, see if somebody wants to jump in here. Give me an example of either way, either something, when you've fallen into a negative mode, or you're in a positive mode, and the impact that it's had on your life or the lives of others. Either way, let's learn from each other and jump in here. Somebody jump in. I'm gonna pause for a moment here and give somebody a chance here to jump in. Blair, you always have a great, some input. Come on.
John, can you hear me okay?
Yeah, Larry, go ahead.
Oh my God. That's like really putting me on the spot here. Okay. I'll take you back to one of the times with my, with my kids and my grandkids now. The thing is that with all the stuff like you were talking about earlier that goes on in the world, so much bad that they have to deal with all the time, especially my young grandkids who are just starting school and things like that. But I have to sit them down sometime and just simply say, well, let's talk about this for a little while, okay? All these bad people and bad things that are going on. And I simply say, who are the people that you really know? Can you start naming some people that you know? And she'll start naming her friends and things. And of course, grandpa, grandma, and her uncle and things like that or whatever. And I said, okay, any more? Do you know other people? And she'll name a few more and things like that. And I said, well, let me ask you a question. Of the people that you just named, how many of them killed somebody yesterday? And she goes, what? How many of them killed somebody yesterday? She said, none of them. Okay. How many of them broke into a grocery store? None of them. Nobody. Well, and how many of them stole a car? None of them, Grandpa. They don't do that. I said, people that don't do these things? So these must be good people, would you say? Yeah, they're good people like you and Grandma, And it's like, there you go. So you see, the people that you know are the people that you need to be concerned about. The people that you really don't know and you only hear about, you don't know what they really are, okay? But my point here is that I think there are more good people in the world than there are bad people around the world. And you are just happen to be surrounded by nothing but good people. You remember when Mom and Dad took you over to Colorado and they visited some friends? Were those bad people or good people? Oh, they were all good people. We had a lot of fun. It was, all in the pool and everything else. Yeah. You told me all about it. So my point here is that similar to what Jim Rohn said, that there's only 9 bad people in the whole world, and you just ran into about 8 of them. You just had a bad day, okay? And that's all you can chalk it up to. But for the most part, most of us, we really know good people, and we're surrounded by good people. So we have to continue that and expand that as much as we possibly can, and continue to be that influence. And hopefully these people that you know are people that are actually going to help you do the things that it is, whatever it is that you'd like to do, help you with your business, help you with your friends, all these different things. Okay. So I spend the bulk of my day with nothing but positivity. Even when somebody is somewhat negative, I just listen, because almost always they paint themselves in a corner. And a lot of times I simply don't engage. I'll just listen and let it be. So it's easier for me nowadays to just simply go, thank you very much for that information. I appreciate it. I'll see you later. Bye. And just walk away. I'm done. I don't have to stand there and listen to this. It's not like they've got me handcuffed, tied up or whatever, and forcing me to listen to this stuff. So I just simply maintain my positivity as much as I possibly can. And as the word says, don't let anybody steal your joy. So I practice that almost every day. And that's all I have for you.
Wow, Larry, that's phenomenal. A lot of wisdom, a lot of wisdom. I just got text that my video disappeared. Is it? Can you guys see me?
No, we don't.
It's black.
What's up with that? Let me just check my plugins here. That's weird. I'm not there?
No.
Ah. Wow. Well, it's a good thing I got a great voice. But I'm going to have somebody else chat here, and I'll check out my video while I do that. But I do want to comment on what Larry just talked about, and because there was a tremendous amount of wisdom and points that he talked about. Number one, I mean, asking back those questions to put that into perspective, for those young grandkids that you were talking to, because you're right. I mean, 99% of the people out there are generally good people. It's that 1%. It's that 1% that we all seem to hear about, because that's what the news focuses on. That's what, people focus on. They focus on, and so that was great to put that in perspective. And I think when you think about when you're asking those questions, well, do you know anybody that did this or that, and you find out you don't. But if the answer was yes, right? If the answer was yes, well, then you better think about changing, coming back to that quote, if you can't change the people around you, you better change the people that you're hanging around with, right? So change the people around you. So, that was another incredible point that I pulled out of that. So I'm going to take and work on my camera here to see what's going on. And
John, if I may, I have a question here. It might be a related topic, but to some extent, I think it fits in. Your camera's on. The breaking the ice with a new prospect, a new customer. How we approach that. I read a book a while back about Big L. I can't think of his last name. Icebreaker.
L. Schreiber.
Yeah.
Big L. Schreiber.
Yeah, and he covered icebreakers. I don't know. The book was published, I think, probably in 2013, something like that. But what you say in those first few sentences can be just taken as a negative or a positive. And maybe you or Mark Jackson or somebody could develop a little program on that one time for us to help us clarify that. What's the best approach?
Yeah, well, I think that's a great point, Larry, or Jim as well. One thing that just kind of popped back in, I want to jump back to Larry for a moment on what he said, because a quote popped into my head by Jim Rohn, and he said, Jim Rohn, talks about, what happens to us all. It's all in what we do about what happens, right? He expands that by saying the same wind blows on us all. Some people, well, the wind is, I can't get, because you can't control the wind, right? You can't control what happens. You can only control what you do about what happens. You can only control the set of the sail, right? If, we all got the same stuff happening, it's all in the set of the sail. And so it's all in what you do about it. And I think even to Jim, your point, when you're talking about those first few words, I mean, if, pay attention to those first few words and listen to them, listen to those as you're talking them, listen to them. And are they, because there are people, because of their upbringing, because of their surroundings, because of their, just their environment that they've been in, they, have, without even realizing it, they have a negative persona. If somebody can say something positive and they immediately out of trained behavior and reaction go immediately, it's gosh, it's a beautiful day here today. Yeah. But, it's really windy out and the bugs are going to be out, or whatever. They somehow, find a negative in every positive. And it's like a learned behavior. It's coming, and so again, this is all coming back to being conscious about it, because it's a learned behavior. It's a reaction, right? It's just what they do. And so, maybe, pay attention to your own words to see, how you are reacting, or you're greeting somebody or whatever, because it makes a difference. All those things make a difference. It makes it change the way people think about you or feel about you, or the way you make people feel. All that kind of stuff makes a difference. So Jim, thank you for that.
Welcome.
Anyone else want to jump in here?
John, I'll just jump in and talk about gratitude, because if you can live a life with gratitude eyes, you have a very positive life. And a great exercise to live that life is every night before you go to bed, think of 5 things you're very grateful for. Even if you had the absolute worst day in the whole wide world, if you're sick and you had to go to the doctor, be grateful that you had a doctor to go to. Be grateful that you had insurance to pay for the doctor. So just like whatever you do in life, it could be a whole lot worse, and look at what you have and how much worse it could be. And a great exercise is to always journal things that happened that day that you're grateful for.
Yeah, Amy, thank you so much for that, because it really is. We have a tendency to fall into a victim mode or a pity mode when especially when bad things happen to us. But if you can look at, like you said, I mean, you don't have to look far. No matter what's going on in someone's life, there's people out there that have it a whole lot worse, and be grateful, for what you do have instead of what you don't have. Right. And so, that's just, and it makes a huge difference in the way people perceive you and your attitude. So I agree 1,000%. There was a quote going on in my head as you were talking about that. And it'll pop back in here in a little bit, and I'll jump in and say it. But anyway, thank you for that. Anybody else want to jump in?
Listening to this about those people around you, it struck a couple of people that I was with yesterday, and I thought, darn, they do. I didn't realize what they were doing, but they do bring me down. But it's also very difficult to break away from them, because you've been around them for a good many years. And so that becomes another situation. How do you take and say, get the hell out of my life, so to speak? But it has to be done. And as Larry was talking about there, I thought, maybe if I write 5 positive people and put their names down there, or 10, and it gives me to focus on others. And when somebody is upsetting me, I can take internally and go cancel while they're talking to me. So I can do that subconsciously. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, Warren, that is it's a problem for almost everybody, right? I mean, because we all have these people that you're talking about that are dragging us down. Like I said, it could be your spouse, it could be, even a kid, it could be, a family member or a close friend or a coworker, people that you can't necessarily run from. But how do you filter? How do you control it? How do you not let it drag you down? And, first off, what is the relationship? Maybe it is somebody you can just eliminate, right? You can eliminate and just slowly fade away from because they're dragging you down. Maybe it's somebody, maybe a little confrontation, just, hey, I was on this Zoom the other day, and it was just talking about the power of positivity, and at the same notion, the power of negativity. And I don't even know if you realize you're doing this, but man, you just, every time we're done talking, you're running me down, and it's killing me. Right. I mean, maybe you confront them that way in a kind of a little bit of a third party way that I didn't even realize it until I, started thinking about it. But, let's together just try to really change, our attitude. Let's try to change our attitude about everything, because I don't think we're helping each other here, dragging each other down, and even if you're not doing that by putting yourself in that same category, it might soften that to make them, not feel so threatened. But yet, yeah, let's do that. Let's try to work together on that. So that might be an option. Anybody else have any suggestions on, because it's something probably many people, most everybody have these people in our life, that you can't just run away from or eliminate, but yet they're dragging us down. They have this negative mindset, this negative, they're pouring cold water on everything, right? Anybody have any other suggestions than what I suggested?
John, this is Juliana. One of the things I realized too, just like how people will hear about that crazy cycle of negativity, I feel once you start doing positive things, you get into a cycle of just positivity and energy. I didn't actually cut people out. I didn't sit there and say, hey, I'm done with you, get out of my life. But I just didn't reach out. I just didn't try to go out of my way getting together with people that I knew were going to bring me down. And they're just not in my circle. If I run into someone, I'll say hi and be happy and nice. They're just no longer in my circle. And every time I was almost eliminating somebody negative, I was adding somebody that I felt like a positive vibe, whether it's just through a Zoom call, whether, a phone call, somebody, even if they're in a different state, I've just surrounded myself with that positive. And then it's just a cycle starts, because then I feel like I'm happier, and then I'm attracting more positive people to me. So even though I didn't burn any bridges with anybody and tell them I'm done with you, it was just really trying to add more positive people. And I cleaned house the last couple of years of who was in my circle. And it's just amazing how everything snowballs into a positive, just in the same way things can snowball to a negative. My life's been like snowballing into like a positive thing. And it's just amazing.
Yeah, well, there's a perfect example of the power of positivity and the power of negativity. I mean, both of them have an energy and a power, and you can get sucked into either one. And because misery loves company, right? And so to recognize what's going on there, and like you said, we're not wanting to make anyone feel bad. I mean, if you can somehow position it in a way like when I was talking to Warren a little bit about maybe, but yeah, you don't want to go and just say you need to get out of my life or do that to them. Just like you said, fade away. Or you try to help them see it and change it without getting their defenses up. So thank you for that. Anybody else want to jump in here?
John, I want to say something. So on my personal experience, being in, this type of business and belongs to a tight community, you cannot avoid negative talks around your circle. So it's true, either you change the people around you. If you cannot change the people around you, you change the people around you. So figuratively and in reality, you change the people around you. But one thing I've learned is people form opinion from what they hear from other people. But for years, I've learned to, I don't buy on the negative things that I've heard. And then when I have interactions with these people, they realize like, oh yeah, the energy that we brought into an organization or the community we belong, even if to our friends, could change also. So if we don't want negative or negativity around us, so don't buy into the negative stuff as well. So I've heard people say, oh my God, Rochelle doesn't buy, she's so positive. They heard, negative things about me, but I never acknowledge it. I don't buy into that. I just smile and I keep talking, positive things. So that's one thing I've learned is that like Rochelle doesn't buy any negativity. When you're around with her, it's all about, the laughter, the smile. And I think that's one thing I've learned also. So if we don't want negativity, don't bring that energy out there too. So we attract what we want to attract. So I've learned that from experience. So I think there's some truth about it. If you struggled about that, try incorporating that into your life and see if it's working.
Yeah, well, I know you do incredible at that, and you just don't engage in it. I know you just don't engage in it, and so, but the other person, engages, which all that does is feed it. It feeds it and brings more attention to it and brings more about it. So that's another major point. Again, something we're in control of. The wind is blowing, like Jim Rohn says, but you can set a different sail. You don't have to allow that wind to blow on you. You can set a different sail and move in a different direction, right? So you can, but one of the things that I think popped into my mind, and maybe it's kind of on the same lines of what Amy mentioned, of gratitude and stuff, because one of the things that can lead us to negativity and resentment, right, is jealousy. Right. I mean, when you're maybe with somebody or somebody that that things are really going well for, and rather than, really being truly and happy for them, and, the mentality of so many people get angry over it. They get angry and they get jealous, and they may not do this to your face, but deep down, they're not really happy for you. Right. And so just, being, again, all of this stuff, comes back to what Jim Rohn says, setting a better sale, truly being happy for other people of what they're experiencing versus being jealous or being resentful or being, maybe, hey, I mean, yeah, there's such thing as luck, right? I mean, one of the things about luck is I say, luck is when opportunity meets preparedness. The harder you work, the luckier you get. But there is such thing as just flat out luck, right? Flat out luck. And don't be, again, being in control of our thoughts and how we, coming back to Jim Rohn, it's not what happens, it's what we do about what happens. When something maybe doesn't happen to us, but does happen to someone else, really, I mean, it'll even change your mindset or your attitude or your persona, being really happy for that person versus being angry or, why does that person always, whatever. I mean, I hope you know what I'm talking about, but, and maybe you've fallen into that. Maybe somebody that's fallen into it. The thing of it is, all the things I talk about on these fireside chats are things that I've had to deal with or struggle with, that I'm working on myself. Right. Because I feel like if I am, other people are as well. So anybody else want to jump in and comment on that? We're closing in here on 45 minutes. We'll close out, but maybe somebody else wants to jump in.
John, one of the things that I find that works for me, and I used to do this when I was teaching school and stuff, if somebody came up and they started talking negative, sometimes you just listen like Larry said. And then when they're done, and what I do is I'll be thinking about things that could be positive about that situation, so that when they're done, then I will speak that positive, because maybe they just don't see it, or they're just so into negative, they haven't learned how to look for the positive things in a situation or a person. So I'll say that. And I know that my oldest daughter, she does the same thing, and she works at this big department store, and she changed the whole atmosphere of it because she's that way. And so people, when they see her, they'll say, oh, we don't say anything negative because Amanda is positive. We won't even say anything to her about it. She's like off limits. But she has learned when someone comes up and says something or something happens to her negative, she turns it around into a positive, so that not only it makes her feel good, but she allows other people to see that there could be a different side of the story, because we see the person, but we don't know the whole story, don't know what's going on with them behind closed doors or at home and what they're dealing with. And so that negativity might come out because, as they say, hurt people, and they just might be hurting.
Wow, that's really, really powerful. Karen, one of the things I just want to mention, because you said something that really hit me there. And, like you said, hurt people. And what you said right before that is we don't really know what's going on in someone's life. Right. We have a tendency. And again, we have a tendency to prejudge what somebody should be saying, doing, or acting, or whatever, without, that, as Stephen Covey says, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Right. And you can very simply do this by asking people questions. Right. I mean, too many times all we do is talk. I mean, one of the things that I try to do in my communication, and I think it can be more natural to me, but I'm very inquisitive. I want to know. I want to know what's going on. What are you doing? What's happening? I'd like to know and try to, learn from it, number one. But again, coming back to Stephen Covey, seek first to understand, then to be understood. Right. Even let's relate it to our business. Right. When you're three-way calling somebody, right? You shouldn't be doing all the talking. You should be asking questions, let them do the talking. Like when you get on a three-way call, and if you're doing all the talking, But if you let the prospect do all the talking by you asking questions and getting the prospect talking, they're going to leave. They're going to think, wow, that was such a great conversation. That was fantastic. I learned so much. Yet they did most of the talking, but by you asking the questions, right? So, and again, I'll close with this little story, and I'm sure you guys have heard me say this story before, but it comes back to that point of seek first to understand and to be understood. Stephen Covey tells a story about this rail car, this train car, subway car. And this guy is in this subway car with a couple small children, and he's like in a little bit of a trance, like oblivious of what's going on around him, because his kids were screaming and hollering and running and jumping, and the other people in the train car were really getting irritated. Right? They were getting irritated, and somebody finally just, says something to the guy. I mean, sir, could you please get your kids under control? And it like snapped him out of a trance. And he said, oh, I'm sorry. We just left the hospital. They just lost their mother. Right. And so you have, without understanding the situation, you're irritated. Right. You're irritated. But to exactly your point, you don't know what's going on in that person's life. Right. And all of a sudden, one of irritation or frustration, judgment, right, of what's going on in the circumstances, immediately when you understood the situation, turned to empathy. Right. How can I help? Right. So with that, guys, fantastic fireside chat. I hope you got a lot out of it as well. We'll be back next Tuesday for our opportunity Zoom. Don't forget about this coming Saturday. Going to be a phenomenal, all day event, or from I think 9 to 4 or something. And of course, back this next Friday, let's take, and we did a chat about assignments once, but let's do an assignment here. Let's everybody bring somebody on next Friday. We're gonna have a great topic. Bring somebody on next Friday. We talk about the power of positivity. We can influence people just by getting them to show up here, right? And we can have a positive. You can by inviting them and through your participation have a positive impact on someone else. So with that, everybody have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you all soon. Bye now.